Hello and welcome back to the High Bulletin, hosted by yours truly, Ralph Mentor. Before we get into finally an episode that took over a week for me to at least record and publish and all, try to record on this. This is Monday, June 24th. Try to record on Saturday. Just got back in Atlanta and all. Try to, but still basking in the glory of what we're about to talk about. But before we talk about that, let me do a little promo for myself. And please follow the YouTube channel, the Instagram page, the Facebook page, Like Eagle LLC. I'll have that in the description and all. But let's have a round of applause for the 2023-2024 NBA champion Boston Celtics and the 18th championship in this illustrious franchise. Right now, the winningest franchise in NBA history. And mind you, the other team, that's number 2, has 5 of them from a different city back in the 1950s and all. But mind you, let's save all the hate talk for all that other shit. Let's just have a little bit of analysis. But mind me for taking a week to publish this. I was basking in the glory, honestly. I even went to the parade on Friday too, as well, this past Friday, in Boston, because I was basically at my parents' place for 21 days, from the 1st to the 21st and all. But yeah. Definitely just basking in the glory. Honestly, definitely thought the C's would finish the series in 4. Just the way they won Game 3, I didn't think the Mavericks would be up and playing to go back to Boston, honestly, in the Game 5, but they surely did, and that just shows what pride really is. Honestly, that you really don't want to be swept in an NBA Finals and all too as well. Like, you really want to show out something throughout that series, either for inner confidence and for something to take forward at least and all. But since the last time I recorded, that's what kind of befuddled me in the last recording I tried to have before having this recording here. I wasn't sure when's the last game I left off on, and it was Game 2, the game that I actually went to, honestly. So we didn't have a chance to mention Game 3. So I'll get into it real quick. But essentially, Dallas came out with a punch. Kyrie Irving finally showed out. Luka Doncic even had a good start too as well. Even P.J. Washington even kind of showed out too in that game and all to start. But the C's were able always to come back. And I believe the Mavs had a good start, like an 18-8 type of start in Game 3, but the C's were able to get back into the game, essentially made it a 26-24 game, and then at the end of the quarter it was 31-30, Mavericks going to the second. Same type of thing happened in the second quarter. Dallas was able to come out with a punch, but again the C's were able to come back, ended up being a 51-50 lead for Dallas going into the third quarter. But the third quarter, especially starting in the middle, towards the middle of it, C's really started exploding with their 3-ball finally. Not something that they showed out really in these finals, but they finally able to show out their 3-ball in the middle of that third quarter towards the end of the third and into the fourth quarter. Went on a crazy run, ended up having a 25-point lead and all. Jaylen Brown, I think, had that big dunk and all in that sequence too as well, where Jason Tatum was going crazy for him at the bench. I think there was a big 3 by somebody. I can't remember, maybe it was Derek White, that into that quarter, or going in, or actually he had it in the fourth quarter, honestly, early in the early parts of the fourth quarter, where they extended that lead to 25. But Dallas was able to go on the 22 run. This is the game that Luka Doncic was fouled out, unfortunately for Dallas, with like 4 to 5 minutes left, and Brian Windhorst had his big storm after the game on ESPN and on the Scott Van Pelt show. But Kyrie Irving was still able to step up. I believe, like I said, the C's were up 25. Mavs went on the 22 run. I think that's what basically made it 3 points. They were able to get it to, I think, 1 point, honestly, too, as well, even after Luka got fouled out with 4 minutes left, 4 minutes or so left in the game and all. But Jaylen Brown was able to come in, have some big clutch shots, honestly. Probably led to probably ended up him getting an award that we'll talk about after Game 5, honestly. But he had some big shots at the mid-range to really cinch the game for the season, Game 3, and hold off the comeback that Dallas was on. And you can argue that maybe if Luka was in the game, they had a better chance of winning that game and all. But the C's were able to go on the 3-0 lead. That's when I thought, oh, no way, this thing is over. Maybe I'll hold off on a recording right now. I already got 3 parts already with a preview and 2 recordings after. I thought I'd be good after, but Dallas showed out. They came out smacked. Luka finally decided to play some defense, honestly. And because as soon as Dallas went up, I felt like the C's were trying to get to that matchup that they were using against Luka, but Luka was actually guarding, actually keeping either Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, probably even Derek White and Drew Holiday in certain instances. Derek White and Drew Holiday, if I wasn't sure if I missed their names and all, but able to get in front of them, not easily for them to get to the paint at least and all, and they weren't doing anything else. I hope they were doing an adjustment because it just looked like Luka was just more into playing defense that game. Could have been the calling out of Brian Windhorst, probably his own teammates and coaches, honestly. Even just accountability, looking at himself, but he definitely showed up better defensively in Game 4. I think that's what helped Dallas get bigger into that. Let's just say extend that lead even bigger. In that game, they had like a lead as big as 40 throughout that basketball game, especially in the second half. Honestly, I just think the season didn't adjust from, at least in that game, from Luka playing better defense and not attacking that. Maybe using Derek White and Drew Holiday a little bit more. But that's what ended up the series not ending up in the sweep, at least and all. Dallas ended up winning in a rout. The season only scored 84 points. That was the first game that Dallas scored 100 points, over 100 points. First game that Kyrie Irving finally has beaten the Celtics, I think, in like 13 or 14 contests and all too as well. Again, Luka showed out defensively, came out offensively as well, was able to move the basketball even towards the end of the game. Tim Hardaway even showed out in that basketball game. Dante Exum had a big block. I think not big block, big dunk on a block attempt by Jason Tatum, honestly, and had a dunk in that game too as well. They really just showed out, honestly. So you have to give Dallas credit. And I just gave Dallas credit in that game. They didn't want to end their season like that. Came out with a punch and just kept punching. The C's were unable to punch back, and I just think the lack of adjustments. Towards this game in Game 5 that we're going to talk about, you do have to give them credit on why they didn't make any adjustments, at least and all. So that's why I give Dallas credit in that game. But after that Game 4, though, coronations were done in Boston on this past Monday on, mind you, 6/17, the same day that the 2008 Boston Celtics won their championship against the Los Angeles Lakers in the blowout and all. And this game ended up being, and for this game, the season ended up winning by 18 points in the 106-108 contest at the Rockin' TD Garden and all. Jaylen Brown, mentioning an award for Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown gained the Bill Russell NBA Finals MVP trophy for his extraordinary defensive performance against Luka Doncic. The defense I was mentioning, and I'm probably mentioning in the previous recordings, but since it took me a week to have something, especially celebrating the Boston Celtics championship, at least, But for the defensive step up, I was giving credit for Luka Doncic in at least Game 4. Credit to Jaylen Brown for doing it all series, especially in the first game, having those 2 steals in the backcourt and able to have those dunks to really get himself going and get the team going defensively, at least. And also, I feel like that was the big reason why he won Finals MVP. But again, he had those big clutch shots in Game 3, had consistent shooting games in Game 1 and Game 2 with his defense as well. Was able to move the basketball. I think he had his career high in playoff assists in this playoffs in this finals series with, if not 7, was 8 of them. Can't remember which game and all, but the same game I believe Jason Tatum had. Yeah, Game 2. I think the game that I went to where Jason Tatum had his 11 assists and all too as well. So Jaylen Brown just had an all-around great series, honestly. And I think the only reason why Jason Tatum didn't get it was because of his shooting, because his floor game was on point. I'm sorry, not the 11 assist game in Game 5 for Jason Tatum. I'm probably pertaining to 9 assists that he had in Game 2, where Drew Holiday was 9 for 9 in the paint, and most of the passes were from him, at least and all. But yeah, Jason Tatum had a great game in Game 5 with a 31 and 11 assist performance. Again, his shooting numbers weren't great, but his floor game was off the chain. In this game too as well in Game 5, really setting his tone at going to the basket continuously, even getting his and ones too as well and all. But it's his floor game that I think he didn't have in the 22 finals that he had in this finals. In Game 1, he was dope on how getting those threes. Probably there was only a few times the 3-pointer was getting going. In that first quarter of Game 1, that 3-pointer was getting going, and that's because of Jason Tatum and the way he was moving the basketball. Really set a tone, in my opinion, moving the basketball for them. But another guy that you can honestly argue that could have a Finals MVP consideration was Drew Holiday. I think the big thing with him, honestly, was just his off-ball movement offensively. great defensively. I mean, there's nothing bad you can say about Drew Holiday defensively, honestly. But I just thought he was big offensively. He really stepped up in game two, had his 26 points and all. I just think he was just playing off the ball great. I think he maybe in certain instances with previous players with the Celtics, they couldn't extenuate Jason Tatum and his double coverage that he can get to, especially when he gets to the paint and all. In game two, Drew Holiday really stepped up and really did that. Playing defense too as well. Switching, especially on Kyrie Irving and on Luka Doncic too as well. He had a great series. Derek White ended up losing his teeth, but by now has definitely cleaned that up in game five at least and all. But again, his clutch shooting has always been big. Let me just say that. I just said clutch and all. But again, just hitting the big threes. I think sometimes he'd be shooting the threes too much and all. But because of the way he'd just be jacking up, especially away from like 30 feet and all. But still, those big shots were big in the series and all, the way they ended the Pacers series. And then just in the game five, let me just stick to game five at least and all, because it was all over the postseason what these guys did, honestly. But his big shot making in the second half of game five was huge, honestly, for the Celtics too as well. And even shout out to the bench with Payne Pritchard with his big half court shots, one in game five to end the first half, get the crowd a buzzing and all. And then he had one in game two, the game that I went to too as well, from half court too as well. Even though his shot wasn't consistent with his 3-point shot, and he definitely could have gave you a little bit more, but he gave you enough defensively, because they were able to, they still, the same thing that was bringing up in game four where they didn't make any adjustments, they stuck to it. Payne Pritchard stepped up even with bat switches throughout the whole series in the game five. Another guy off the bench in Hauser, same thing, gave you shooting in this game, which was great. This was awesome, honestly, too as well. But it's just big that he was able to switch off onto Kyrie Irving most times, honestly, Luka Doncic, and able just to hold his own, didn't stop him. It's not like he stopped him from Luka Doncic getting to a spot and getting his shot off, but he stopped him enough to at least get him off his game. Maybe think a little bit, oh shit, Sam Hauser's actually playing some defense on me and all, to get him thinking a little bit and have his shots a little bit shorter, a little bit off, honestly. So I just thought he was huge, honestly, too as well. So this especially, let me see, got a script going on, but this team was huge. In game five, you can just give it all to Brad Stevens, honestly, and the team that he developed. Joe Mazzulla at the parade, how big he was, how awesome he was throughout the parade, throughout the season. His philosophy really kicked in my opinion, too, as well. Man was maligned for his performance last year, and he comes in and hammers it. This season, you can argue he outcoached every coach in the postseason, and you see it with the 16-3 record. I get that maybe the Eastern Conference had their injuries, so the Boston Celtics took advantage, but maybe I would give credence to that notion if Kristaps Porzingis wasn't hurt, but he was hurt throughout basically like 2.5 rounds, and you can argue you basically didn't have him for the finals, honestly, especially after game two. Basically you have him for one more game over the next 3 games and all. But the run that the C's have made was definitely dominant. I wish I had the Greeny numbers right now too as well, because those numbers were crazy. Like, it's a team that's had, I think the one stat that he had was they've had a 20-point lead in 50 games this year and all too as well. So I just thought it's a great case of how dominant they were, the way they finished this series. I couldn't even do an episode. I'm still basking in the glory of them winning this championship, honestly. To come in from the start again in February of this year and really had an idea, I really had a thought that this team can really win a championship. Past years maybe I'm a little more yuppie about it, but this year it really felt like they can do something special, honestly. It's just on the dominant run. And when you're top 5 in offensive rating, honestly, you look at every team in that instance, that they're basically a championship winning team, and all other teams went on runs to win multiple championships. When you look at the Bulls, the Warriors, I'm trying to think of another team there. Can't think of another team up there right now. But at least those 2 teams, at least, able to go on runs, multiple runs, winning championships, at least. The 08 Celtics team was there, and even though they didn't win another championship, at least to the point that they went to multiple finals, if they didn't have injuries, maybe things roll a certain way and all too as well. But they're one of the most dominant teams You have the best offensive backcourt narrative coming into this finals, and they absolutely crushed them. Where Kyrie Irving was looking lost, where Luka Doncic looked more hampered in this series, honestly, because they had to play not like play a little bit more defense, but I just think their effort level was going to have to step up a bit compared to the other teams they faced in the West, where maybe Kyrie Irving and Luka can be hidden a little bit on defense. Their effort level is still up, but I just don't think their level of defenses can get up to against a team like Boston, where you're going to have to play both sides, honestly. It's not that where you can pick and choose when to play, in my opinion, because this is a team that the Boston Celtics have shown all year that they're willing to attack mismatches and all too as well. Hello, welcome back. Appreciate you guys sticking through. Had to go back and find this list that Mike Greenberg came up with Hembo, most likely on his radio show last week, which he called the Green List and all. I wanted to point out these stats. I thought they were exhilarating to listen to and all, and really part of the reason why I felt confident throughout the whole, basically since November on, after the Milwaukee Bucks game the day before Thanksgiving, why I felt confident this team could go on and win a championship just because how dominant they were showing themselves out early part of this season without no chemistry, and looked how they looked in the second, towards the end of the first half into the second half of the season, where things started to pick up for them and all. But let's get into it. In the 101 games that the Celtics have played, in 50 of them, they had a 20-point lead. Only the 2017 Warriors ever did that over the past 25 seasons, and they had a 20-plus point lead in over half of their games, if I heard correctly from Mike's show. And also, that's how dominant the C's were playing against other opponents this year. Able to have 20-point leads in 50 of their games, essentially half of their games and all. Is a one showcase of their dominance, honestly. And another tidbit to that, the C's were favored in 96 of those 101 games, so basically a 95 percentile favored rate. I'm making something up, honestly, but Vegas basically had them favored in 95% of their games this year and all. I remember one game, I'm going to look it up when it was, Kings versus the Celtics. The Celtics that's one of the games I remember where they weren't favored, and they end up smacking the Kings by what's it called there? Ooh, what is that? 25 points and all. So yeah, even that, this was on the road too as well. And this was I was trying to remember their their trip that they went on. This is on December. This is towards the end of December and all. So I kind of understood why Vegas didn't have them favored. It was early in the season at least and all. Even though it's not too clear to see, it's pretty clear they were going to be dominant, but they weren't that dominant yet at that point in the season to think that they could lose a game out west in the random regular season game. So I can understand why they weren't favored in that game. That's one of the games at least I remembered going into it where they weren't favored in the game and all. But for the next stat, the C's had 15 more wins than any other team in the NBA this season. They're the sixth team to ever do that, to at least have the most wins, to have the most wins above the next opponent at least. Minnesota was the next highest team this season with 65 wins, and the season essentially finished with 80 and all too as well. So the fact that the sixth team to ever do something like that, to be plus 15, I'm assuming the list involves the 71 Bucks, the 17 Warriors, the 96 Bulls, the 72 Lakers, because they're all over these lists. Maybe the 86 Celtics. I don't think the 86 Celtics were that much better than teams in the East that year and all. But in the case of their dominance, of how they leaped, especially through the East, early, I think mid-March, they basically clinched the East ended up leading the East with a 14-game lead, if I remember correctly. Since I'm by the computer, let me just check just in case. Yeah, 14-game lead over the Knicks this year too as well. So the sixth team to ever have a 15 or more wins to the second team in the NBA at least and all. And they proved that out again. I'll even skip. Yeah, I'll skip to the next one because of this 80-win thing I wanted to stay on. This is the 14th team ever to win 80 games in the season. They're Their 792 win percentage is the second best in franchise history. Obviously, the 1986 team was better. The Celtics won 53-13 against the East this year, which is by far the best, and they went 27-8 against the West this year, which again was the best in the league too as well. So to the naysayers that the West, if the season were in the West, it would have been easier. This 27-8 marker is not really relaying that honestly too as well. Maybe they had played more games in the West. Maybe it would change the numbers. But to have a 53-13 record against the East, how much different is it going to be against the West and all too as well? The only team that they couldn't be in the West is Denver at least and all. And both games were, I think, the loss deficit at least and all in the both games were, if it wasn't 5 points, it was 7 points. Both games were close at least and all. So they weren't, they weren't blowouts. Like one game against the Clippers was a blowout, and the C's blew them out earlier in the season in LA and all too as well. So there are no instances like that. Even the Minnesota Timberwolves game, one of the first games of the season was in Minnesota, close game with no Derek White, and then even the game I think was late January. Yeah, I think it was mid or late January. Yeah, definitely mid-January. I remember this was the Denver Nuggets game, so I remember going to Huntsville to see Cat Williams at least. But I know Minnesota wasn't was either too much, not too far before, or not too much before, or not too much after that Denver Nuggets game and all. But again, it was a close game and all too as well, which the C's won, and they lost the first one early in the season and all. So. Again, they showed their comp against. I brought that up just to show that they had comp against that they were able to beat. Yeah, comp against the West. That they were able to beat the West not thoroughly through their 27-8 record, but just the narrative of that the C's, if they were in the West, they wouldn't look the same. I'm believing pretty much in the way they looked in the finals against the best offensive backcourt in NBA history, quote unquote. I would think they would have held their water in the West and all. Maybe just would have been the 4th seed and all, because I'll give you, they probably don't have I think they had a 5 games above the, it was probably 7 games above the next best team in the West at least and all. Yeah, I mean with Minnesota being the next team, I think it was 65. Yeah, that's including the playoffs and all too as well. I'm trying to count based off the regular season that Minnesota had. But Minnesota was a 3 seed, but they played more games than Denver and Thunder honestly, so that's why they had 65 by the end of the season at least and all too as well. But just to show that the West isn't that much so strongly that the C's still wouldn't have a dominant season in my opinion at least. Now this is my opinion at least and all. But let's go to the next one at least and all. The next stat at least and all. 2 more, and this is one of the 2. The Celtics outscored teams by 10.7 for 10 basically. They basically outscored teams by 11 points the whole season, honestly. And again, they're in a place of royalty, NBA royalty, i.e., this is from Mike Greenberg at least and all. With that stat, the 71 Bucks champions had a better margin of victory. I don't want to say that. Yeah, I guess I can say that. Best margin of victory throughout the whole season at least. And all. The 71 Bucks had a better average. Golden State Warriors had a better average. The 17 Warriors, with I think first year Kevin Durant, 96 Bulls, Jordan's team, they had a better average. And the 72 Lakers, with Jerry West and Wilt Chamberlain, had a better average. The season number 5 after those 4 teams, honestly. So again, and you're looking at, I don't remember. Let me look at the 1970s championships in the NBA, because we all know that the 17 Warriors and the 96 Bulls repeated. So I want to look at the 1970 championships. Let's see. Every 1970s champion by StatMuse. We have the Knicks, the Bucks, the Lakers. So the Bucks and the Lakers never won again, but those are all-time great teams at least and all. I just wanted to see if those teams that averaged, the biggest, basically had the largest average margin of victory. I gotta get that stat down. But I wanted to see who won multiple championships at least and all. Like I said, the Warriors and the Bulls, the 17 Warriors and the 96 Bulls did, with the 96 Bulls going on a three-peat, and at least the 17 Warriors, that iteration with Kevin Durant, went to 3 straight finals. And I think we can all argue if Kevin Durant's healthy, they're winning 3 in a row and all. So they're in that elk of teams, the 71 Bucks and the 72 Lakers. Based off what I know of history, at least, the 71 Bucks had Lou Alcindor, i.e., Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He ended up leaving. I'm not sure what year he left. And with the Lakers too, I know Will Chamberlain wasn't with the Lakers forever, so I can see. And Jerry West, I'm assuming, retired soon after too as well, because 10 years prior he was carrying the Lakers to the finals at least and all. So those iterations of those two teams didn't stay the same. I think that's why they probably didn't last as long. Honestly, the Knicks were pretty damn good too around that time too. So it's just a couple factors in my opinion why the Lakers and the Bucks, those teams, and then go back to back or to another finals. Did the Bucks go to another finals? Something I wouldn't know off the top of my head, at least and all. Probably the Lakers went to another finals too as well. They probably obviously didn't win. I'm looking at the winners, and let me look up one more thing. Let me see. Because I would like to see if the C's can continue the notion of at least going to another finals. Basically showing their dominance and all. Let me see finals matchups going on Google real quick. You got the New York Knicks against the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, at least that 72 Lakers team that went to two of them. They lost to the Knicks in 70 and they beat the Knicks in 72. The Bucks did go to another finals too as well. There we go. I wanted to see that. So all those teams that I mentioned that had the highest average margin of victory, the 71 Bucks, the 17 Warriors, the 96 Bulls, the 72 Lakers, and now the 2024 Boston Celtics. Those top four at least went to multiple finals. The Bucks won in 71 and lost in 74 to the Celtics. The Lakers won in 72 against the Knicks and lost in 1972 to the Knicks. And yeah, the Warriors won in 17, won in 18, lost in 19 with Kevin Durant getting hurt. And the Bulls won in 96, won in 97, won in 98 at least and all. So it's a good omen for the Celtics to continue this run next year. And they basically had this run, at least in the postseason. And you can argue for at least a third of the regular season and 2/3 of the postseason. They didn't have Kristaps Porzingis playing as well. So again, another showcase of their dominance. I just wanted to point this out. It's a good omen for them to show this stat out, and that maybe they can continue this over a 3 to 4 year stretch, because every other team at least lasted another 3 to 4 years and all. We can mention the 96 Bulls with Jordan retiring after those three championships, and Pippen going to I believe it was Houston before going to Portland and all, and Kevin Durant getting hurt. So he's going to be out for a whole year anyway with the Achilles, and then end up going to Brooklyn anyway. Those teams probably could have lasted longer. And like I brought with the Lakers, Will Chamberlain, I'm assuming retires. Jerry West I'm assuming retires and all. Those guys move on at least and all. And with the Bucks, I know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar leaves, and Oscar Robertson, I'm pretty sure, his career wanes down at least and all. The reason why I bring that up because again, Jason Tatum's 27. Jason Tatum's 26. Jaylen Brown's 27. Derek White's 30. Kristaps Porzingis' injury concern is real. Injury-prone narrative is real, at least but he's only 30. And then your elder statements, at least 34, 35-year-old Drew Holiday and 38-year-old returning next season Al Horford too as well and all. So there's a lot of chance of this core staying together longer than just 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Honestly, you should expect a couple finals runs. I wouldn't guarantee back-to-back yet. Especially when you got Denver out there too as well. There's a bench player away of being right back in the conversation. Honestly, of being true champ. Well, they are true championship contenders. But since Boston won, they're not the clear favorite and all. But if there's any other favorite after Boston, I think it's Denver at least. But let me move it along. I went long on that one. I just wanted to see that omen that the C's can go to another finals, and trust me, that makes me excited. But the last one I'll go here too. These next stats I'll be saying here are each the most in regular season NBA history at least and all. So the most 50 wins the C's had with 3, the most 40 wins the C's had with 4, the most 30-point wins. These are point wins. The most 50-point wins the C's had with 3. The most 40-point wins the C's had with 4. The most 30-point wins in the season the C's had 10. And the most 25-point wins in the season the C's had 17. Again, each is the most in regular NBA season history. So even though they weren't the the Golden State Warriors, the 2017 Golden State Warriors, who had a 20-point lead in half of their games at least, no, which is crazy, because I brought up the stat earlier that the Seas did in 25 of their games at least, or 50 of their games, I should say, and all. Yeah, wow, my bad. Yeah, they did it for half of those 20 point leads in games at least, and all. They had it for 50 of them. The Warriors essentially did the same thing too as well, having 50 of them too as well. So the fact that they're doing something compared to the 2017 Warriors, which we can all argue is probably the best offense in history. And now they have the most 50-point wins in history, the most 40-point wins in the regular season, the most 30-point wins in the regular season, the most 25-point wins in the regular season, and most, all regular season NBA records. I think that's the last stat at least, and all that they showed. I have a couple other ones, but to show how dominant the C's team was throughout the season and all, that they were able to bludgeon their opponents. Multiple times by 50, multiple times by 40, numerous times 30 and 25 times at least and all. Again, just another showcase of how good they were, and they weren't just so reliant on just a player here or there. They really had a player here or there. Jason Tatum, you think they ride the coattails of Jason Tatum having 40-point games? Didn't happen. Jaylen Brown, 40-point games, didn't happen. It wasn't. Derrick White had a hot start, but it's not like he continued the whole season with a hot start too as well. They all played a significant role, and they played it since they're star players. We're gonna say Drew, Kristaps, Al, even to at his older age at least, and all. Derrick White, Jason, and Jalen. These are all stars at least, and they all played a role within that, and they were true. They were stars in that role after that too as well. So just another stat to show their dominance at least and all. I just loved what Greenberg put on his radio show, especially for the national media. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe I'll probably put a link in my description too as well, so he gets that show out honestly. Because I just think he was right, because even a guy like Mike Greenberg was, be careful of Milwaukee throughout the season and all, but even he flipped throughout the season to see how dominant this team was, and it really was up to it was really Celtics versus Celtics than anybody else in the league. People say that, again, people bring up the East and how I'm going to bring up these narrative talks. I was trying to avoid it, but it does bother me about these narrative talks and all. Even though the East was weak, the Celtics faced the best offensive backcourt, quote unquote, in the league at least and all, and they were able to beat them in 5 games. And you can argue easily could have been a sweep if it wasn't for pride kicking in for the Mavericks, honestly. So those are the 5 things that Greenberg brought up that I really wanted to talk about. The stats that I looked at throughout the whole season and all, now that the season's over, I really get to see where the Celtics stand, honestly. And it's been the net rating and the scoring margin for me. We'll bring up the scoring margin number again and all, but for the net rating stat, the C's they have finished as top 5 in history with the top rating. I can't confirm if this is including the playoffs. I'm pretty sure I included these with the playoffs too as well, and they still ended up being top 5 all time, honestly, in net rating. The 96 Bulls are number 1 with a 13.4 net rating. The 96 Bulls 13.4 rating. The 97 Bulls with a 12-point ratings, flat rating. The 17 Warriors, which I love comparing this team to the 2024 Boston Celtics. I love comparing them to the 17 Warriors. I think they look like that, but it's a bit disguised because KP isn't Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is the ultimate scorer in history, honestly. So that's why it's not as it doesn't look so insurmountable going into the league and all, because KP isn't Kevin Durant, and mind you, he has his injury concerns too as well and all. But number 4 on that list, the 2023-2024 Boston Celtics, actually tied with the Golden State Warriors at 11.6 in the rating. And then a team that's in the top 5 that didn't win a championship but do have championship pedigree, and and they were just facing a 73-win Warrior team that year too as well. But the San Antonio Spurs in 2016, top 5 with 11.3. But a team that won a championship 2 years prior, went to a finals 3 years prior and all. And if it wasn't for the 73-win juggernaut of the Golden State Warriors, you can argue that they would have been in the finals and it would have had a decent chance against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. but I have to say decent because even though I'm giving the Warriors credit for going 73, having the 73 wins and going to the finals, still lost to LeBron James that season. So not I can't guarantee that San Antonio Spurs would have won, but definitely could have guaranteed if the Warriors weren't so much of a juggernaut, they really had a chance of going to the finals at least and all, with being top five in that rating stat at least and all. But another stat, we're going back to the scoring margin stat at least too as well. Again, basically, I wanted to confirm that. I basically forgot. It's basically part of Green's list and all too as well. But this is the company that I don't mind reiterating this all over again. The fact that you're in company officially with the 72 Lakers, the 72 Lakers, the 71 Bucks, the 96 Bulls, the 2017 Warriors. If you don't include the 86 Celtics and probably the 87 Lakers at least and all, you're talking about probably one of the greatest teams of all time, and the Celtics, the 2024 iteration, is smack dab in the middle of it too as well. So what a great omen for this team throughout the whole season to have the dominant start, to continue the dominant start before the Atlanta Hawk losses, when they went back to back, when they had back-to-back losses in mid to late March. This team only had two back-to-back losses throughout the whole season, losing to Minnesota and Philly to begin the season, and having the Cleveland and Denver losses in, I think it was either late February or early March at least and all. And still, not having any type of real hiccups throughout the season, honestly, too, as well. To sit there to have 64 wins at the end of the regular season, to be 14 games up on the East, to be 7 to 8 games up on the West, honestly, and then to go on a 16-3 postseason run and finish the season with an 80-21 record. To be real, that's why I really didn't want to record after they lost Game 4, because I really wanted that 80-20 record, honestly, just those even numbers and all. But it's not like 80-21 is any less impressive and all. You even have fools that want to come up into my group chats and feel like they're talking context and all, and saying that the C's should have won 16-0 because they're so dominant. Appreciate the 16-3. Last time I checked, since 2002, that's top 5, if not top 3, in postseason runs too as well, matching with 16-1 Lakers. I think that's before 02 at least and all, because I think they went 16-1 in 01. On their way to a championship, just losing to Allen Iverson in one game and all too as well. And obviously the Golden State Warriors in 2017, they went 16-1 too as well, only losing to LeBron James in the finals at least and all too as well, sweeping their way to it. The fact that you're the third best, you're third or fourth best in that category, and you basically just put all this team together too as well. I don't know. I'm looking at it as more dominance than anything, honestly. I'm not looking at it as they should have done this, should have done that. They're still that dominant. I think they prove it. They've shown it. It's going to be interesting what the league does going further, honestly, now. I'm recording on June 26th, Wednesday, this segment at least and all, the first segment that you hear when I record. I think I record either Sunday or Monday at least and all, but these days are all the same at the end of the day. But the outlook of the league is different, and what you've seen in in the two big trades we've seen so far, with Caruso going to OKC and now Bridges going to New York. Talk about a blockbuster. That's a blockbuster. Bridges may not be a big name, but the fact that he's going to New York and playing with his Villanova buddies and Brunson, DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart, it's a big thing, honestly, too, as well. And the fact that that core was able to go that far, especially with the injury concerns, it's fair to make a big deal about that trade, and I'm not going to down it, even though I still think the Knicks need to do more, if not, and more, just keep that whole team together, pay Isaiah Hartenstein, pay OG Anunoby, keep Randall, keep Mitchell Robinson. Are they going to be willing to do that? It's a good question. That's why I'm not taking this too seriously yet. Against June 26th, a lot can happen from now until October and all. And I'm pretty sure I'll have an episode or a recording here or there and all. But you see what the C's have forced teams to do. Make sure you have 4 capable guys that can guard 1 through 4, basically. If you can have a 5 that can guard 1 through 5, that would be huge too as well, honestly. But what the Thunder just did by Alex Caruso, another wing guy, with the guys like Dort, SGA, Jay Williams already on the team and all, to add Caruso to that, again, you want to make sure you can defend When I say 1 through 4, you want to make sure you can guard the 1, which is the point guard. You want to make sure you guard the 2, which is the shooting guard. You want to be able to guard the 3, which is the small forward. You want to be able to guard the 4, which is in my times the power forward, but it looks like it's a wing too now. So, but you want to be able to switch all those guys and all. You don't want to be able to. You want to be able to switch. You don't want to be able to have guys fight over screens and all, and give that play. Because if you're guarding one of those 3 players or one of those 4 players, there's a good chance that one of those 4 players are going to have a dribble and drive game at least and all. And if you're switching, you're at least keeping that player in front of you. When you're trying to fight over a screen, there's a good chance that guard or wing, most of these, and especially with the wings, with the 3 and the 4, these guys can shoot threes now. These guys can basically pop a shot without the catch and shoot element. Without the catch and shoot element, most of these wings at 3 and 4 position can just dribble and pop, honestly. So when you're not able to switch, you're giving that player enough space. And mind you, that players like that too can drive to the basket easier if they don't see a defender in front of them, even for a split second. It could be a 0.2 second situation where you don't switch, but you're able to fight over the screen. That's enough for these talented guys these days to fly right by and go for a dunk, have an and one, get a foul, go to the free throw line, and also you're seeing teams like the Thunder and the Knicks to begin this offseason, making sure they can guard 1 through 4. And this is what I'm curious about both teams and teams going forward. Maybe easy, maybe not too complicated to figure out how you can guard, but how can you score with that too as well. Even the Knicks were able to get Mikal Bridges, and I respect Mikal Bridges. I know he has a game, especially a corner 3 and all. But how dynamic can that offense be, really, honestly? You know their fight, you know their grind, but can offense come easy for them? And I'm curious about that, even though they had their injuries and all too as well. I saw a team against Indiana have their injuries too as well, to a degree. Ben Mathurin wasn't already playing anyway, so I can't go too deep with that. But they were still able to score up and down the court and all with some as a dynamic offense, honestly. Top 2, if not 1, in offensive rating all season, honestly. And it showed out against the Celtics in the conference finals and throughout the playoffs when they faced the Bucks and the Knicks, honestly. I don't know if the Knicks with a move like that is like that. I don't know what the Thunder with the Caruso move is like that. Both teams, especially OKC against the Dallas Mavericks, which I can argue OKC probably had the same mix of players that the Celtics did, and the Celtics beat the Dallas Mavericks in 5. OKC had the same type of mix, and they lost to the Mavericks in 6. And I don't think it was even a 6-game series. Honestly, I felt like in 1 game or 2, Dallas let go of the rope a little bit, honestly, but the Thunder were struggling to score in certain situations and all. Caruso's not going to help that. Facing the Boston Celtics, and if you try to match the Boston Celtics, as much as you have to guard them, it's just as important. It's just as important to score on them too as well. In today's NBA, scoring is a level of defense too as well. And I'm concerned with those moves off the bat, at least and all. They figured out the defending part to a degree. I don't even think those are the teams that can really defend Boston like that, but still, I think that's what you're going to see with the NBA going forward, just on the talent perspective. The cap and the second apron and all that I'm pretty sure is something too as well, to these moves too as well. But I do think teams are going to be looking to have this type of wing and guard depth throughout their lineup, so they're able to switch and keep these offensive players, especially if they're facing Boston, in front of them and all. Because as we see as basketball people, the champion usually has the rest of the league copying them, and I don't know if anybody can copy the offensive part of the Celtics. The defensive part, the Knicks kind of have that if they bring back Mitchell Robinson, they bring back Julius Randle, if they can bring back Isaiah Hartenstein. I know it's his money now. But if they're able to spend that money and keep that team there, add Mikal Bridges to replace a Bojan, all of a sudden there's depth there. You can have DiVincenzo and Josh Hart off your bench all of a sudden, maybe even a Mitchell Robinson off your bench, and go small with Julius Randle, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and Brunson, or take Hart and put DiVincenzo. You have depth, honestly. I'm concerned with this pickup. Don't be scared to spend money. And I think if you're really trying to go out with Boston, there's one thing you have to match to as well, is the money spending. And I'm curious if they're going to be, if they want to spend, they should spend, they're going to have the ability to keep Hardenstein, and OG Anunoby. The Mikal Bridges contract doesn't blah 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 blah. The Mikal Bridges trade doesn't affect any of that. They sent out Bojan Bogdanovic. He was getting paid $20 million. Mikal Bridges is getting paid $21 million. I'm pretty sure that trade's not completely done, so they can add a player there to make sure the money matches and all. So I'm sure it's just a principal trade right now. So I don't see this trade stopping New York from spending the money that they need to spend to keep OG Anunoby and Hardenstein, however you pronounce his name. I apologize. But there's just nothing stopping from bringing them that team. If they can bring that full team back, I give them a shot against Boston. I don't like them offensively still. I still think they struggle offensively. Maybe you can argue their defense brings their defense brings the Celtics offense down a bit. I don't see it. I don't think any defense is that dynamic enough to stop this Celtics offense, honestly. We didn't see it against the Warriors in their 2017, 2018, 2019 run. It just took injury to really ruin that run, honestly. I think that's a similar thing you're looking at the Celtics, at least and all. I think it's just more of themselves more than anyone else that can slow them down and all, going forward at least and all. But let me not go too long. It's way early. Like I said, I'm recording on June 26th, so today is the draft and all. For someone that wasn't truly interested in the draft, I'm kind of interested in the draft, honestly, right now, because it looks like the international players, which I was hoping for, the international players are taking over. I thought Sarah would be one. There's a new Frenchman taking over right now. Let me see if I can get his name. I'm probably going to butcher it, but let me see if I can get his name real quick. Even Bronny, let me get his name before I get into that. Rashir, probably butchering his name, but he's risen up lately. I haven't seen any tape on him to begin, so that's why I wasn't sure. I thought Sarr would be the guaranteed one, but this kid is 6'9". He plays as a wing too as well. I'm talking about as a small forward at least and all. So that's big in today's NBA, especially with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown doing their thing. It's gonna be more of a coveted position than it was in the past, honestly. But he looks very interesting. I thought Sarr would be a guaranteed one. He looks very interesting to be a 1-2 as well. Like I say, he's a wing, 6'9". I'm assuming he'll have a 7 foot plus wingspan at least and all too as well. So it's all just guessing on my part right now. But I do like these two French guys, honestly. I think whoever goes one is worth the pick, honestly. There's a chance of superstardom at least not from those two players than any of the American players. I'm sorry, coming out of this draft, honestly. Have not been a big fan of the Americans coming out of this draft, honestly. I do have a respect for Bronny James, honestly, because I thought he was going to get undrafted easily, honestly. But there's no way you can look at the tape, a potential of a player too as well, and not look at him, especially in my opinion. I won't go so far to call it trash. I'll say that for other audio programs I'm on and all, but it is low this year. The talent, in my opinion, is low. If it's not the talent, because even guys like Rob Dillingham, what's another talented player I have to give credit to at least and all. We got Donovan Clingan. We got Reed Shepard too as well. We got it's either Stefan or Stephen Castle from Connecticut and all. Those are talented cats. So I'm not trying to dig on the talent too much, but it is the experience I don't like at all. Honestly, you're seeing young guard. There's a lot of guards here. It's a guard and big, draft, honestly, with the Klingons, with the Flipkowskis, and then you got the Dillinghams, the Reed Shepards, and all. Those are tough positions, in my opinion, too, as well, to learn going into the NBA, honestly. I feel like the guard and the wing, the small forward wing, at least, and all, are two easy positions and all. I'm not seeing a whole bunch talent-wise there, but and even Zach, I'm sleeping on Zach Edey. That's how much I feel about this draft, honestly. But that's another big two as well, and also I'm kind of concerned just for the talent that's coming in. I'm just concerned on how they adjust going into the league. I feel it's going to take some time at least, and all. If it weren't for the international guys, I'm going to butcher his name again, but Rashir and Sarr, and if Topic didn't get hurt, he would be in the top 5 of this league, of this draft too as well. They've helped steady out this draft a little bit, in my opinion. Bronny James' ascension makes day 2, if not the end parts of day 1, interesting, honestly. I do like him as a talent. If I had space in my roster for him, I would draft him. I like him. I didn't think I would like him going into this draft. I thought he was an undrafted player, like I said earlier. But there's no way you cannot buy his stock right now. The way he's looked at these combines, these combine games, these workouts too as well. I think he had a crazy vert too as well, if not 65, something way up there honestly. I think I got it right. I think it's around 65 honestly. Since I'm by the computer, let me just check. Let me see if it comes up on Google real quick. Does it come up? Does it come up? Yeah, okay, I'm part of 60. I'm sorry. It looks like it was a 40, 40.5. But apparently, yeah, that was a record apparently too as well. I just wanted to give him some love because it was actually it was a record and all. It was a 40-inch vert at least. I guess 65 would be a little crazy, but it was a 40-inch vert, 40.5 vert that he had at the combine and all. So I'm just it's a challenge. Everything I'm bringing up is a challenge, and every time you see him through that challenge, he's succeeding through it. And you have to give him props honestly. You just can't come at him with the LeBron James son narrative honestly. He's actually a legit prospect and he can play honestly, and he's at a good size, maybe undersized scoring wise in the league, but definitely in the size that he can guard ones and twos because it looks like he's going to pick up some strength too as well. He may have that LeBron James strength if it's something we compare him to with his father at least. He should have his strength, and obviously with the 40.5 vert, he has the athleticism and all. But I'm going long. I did not expect him to go 30 plus minutes and all. So I do appreciate you guys listening. Again, go to the description to follow the Instagram, the Facebook, and what else? I got the YouTube too as well. I put in the description the Greeny video of him explaining the dominance that the C's had in the stats that he can show to prove it, and his stat man there, Hembo too as well and all. But then again, I do appreciate you guys. We'll see what's next for this show. I think I am feeling that having some guests on. Some Celtics fans sound off and then have their perspective of the NBA moving forward and all should be the next part of the show at least and all. But please enjoy this listen and we'll talk soon.